This is the Business Stuff Podcast. This is where I will share the lessons I've learned from advising thousands of businesses over almost 30 years. Each episode will give you practical insight to allow you to learn from other people's mistakes. I'll be pulling in experts from our team and the world of business, and together we'll make sure your business is giving you what you want. My name is Martin, and this is the Business Stuff Podcast. Hi, it's Marty from the Accelerator team, and I'm here today with Chris Garvey, who's the founder of Wolf Instinct. Hi Chris, how are you doing?
I'm really good, mate, you?
I'm good. You're the first person we've had on who's got a book. Your book's called Tales of Hidden Strength, and it's written for kids about mindset.
Yeah.
But in your own words, in 30 seconds or so, tell us how this came about.
Yeah, so my daughter was struggling with her mindset 2 years ago when she was 7, and I looked at stuff to help her because I'd done a lot of personal development myself, and there's nothing out there for kids. So I've worked on her for 2 years, and she's transformed massively, like a total different kid. But a 7-year-old, trying to talk to her about mindset was a bit difficult.
You can't sit her down with a Tony Robbins podcast, can you?
No. So the idea with the book was, I thought, how can I kind of get inside of her mind without being so intrusive? And I thought if she could read a book, it was like, and follow characters and see how they dealt with different situations in a positive way, with a growth mindset, a positive mindset, then at least those ideas are sinking in. And I couldn't find anything at the time for that, so I thought, well, I'll just write the book.
Awesome, yeah. So you're also then the owner and you know, the main guy behind a joinery and building firm.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why you spotted this in your daughter goes back to when you started your business, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Do you want to tell us, like, because most people would go, yeah, me 7 year old, they're just quiet, or she's just, or they might not have spotted.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Did you see something that you recognised from yourself in her?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want her to do what I did.
Yeah, because I could see she couldn't get out of her comfort zone at all. Like there was nothing that seemed even remotely uncomfortable she would do. She always was worried about everyone else's opinions, really scared to fail, like just to the point where I was really struggling to get her to do anything.
So very anxious about...
Yeah, so total fixed mindset, like, and she wanted to go ice skating, and she was like, oh, what happens if I fall and everyone laughs at me? And I was like, you need to stop worrying about other people's opinions, just focus on yourself. It doesn't matter. And there was loads of stuff which like I'd learned through my journey, and I was like, if I don't help her and help her quick, she's going to really struggle when she gets older. So that's why I was like, and I looked for stuff to help her, and there isn't. I mean, I now look at mindset as the greatest tool we all have, but yeah, it isn't taught to kids in any way.
Because that's why you thought, well, hold on, I know that this was all new to me as an adult. Yeah. And you just said before we started, and I wish I'd known this. Well,
I only stumbled across mindset when I set up CG Joinery and Building. I was going through something personal at the time, which I was in a really bad place with. I also had to be able to dictate my own hours because I want to share custody of the kids, so I had to set up CG Joinery and Building. I had no choice. And setting up a business and dealing with personal issues, one or the other is bad enough, both at the same time is very overwhelming, and I just stumbled across mindset at the time.
As someone who also had no idea, like you had none of the tools.
I had nothing, I had none of the tools.
And two stressful things, and also you were ill prepared.
Yeah, I was totally ill prepared.
It might have been much easier. Yeah. It would always have been hard, but it could have been much easier. It
could have been much easier. Like, I look at things in a total different perspective now. So when I stumbled across mindset, the first thing I thought was, why wasn't I taught this like a long time ago? Like, I would have made so many different decisions in my life as a kid, teenager, young adult, and it helped me through that situation, and I got really intrigued in it, so I started just like delving massively into it and going on a journey.
What do you mean by mindset then? Because it feels like it's one of those buzzwords, but what does mindset mean to you?
So mindset means to me, it's the way you perceive yourself, it's the way you kind of perceive things that goes on around you and stuff like that. So like I remember just one aspect was I was always scared to fail and make mistakes, and you know me, I'm quite finicky, got OCD, everything's got to be perfect. And I remember as a kid, if I had made a mistake in football, that was it, I couldn't concentrate. Whereas now, I look at mistakes as really good things because it gives me.
So as a kid, you were like, oh, I missed that open goal. The rest of the game was a write-off.
The rest of the game was a write-off.
Yeah.
But instead of looking at it as
don't worry, I'll have another goal.
Yeah, I'll have another goal. But what can I do differently to get a better outcome?
Yeah.
That was just one aspect of it, like just the ability to look at different situations in different ways. I again was always wondering what other people's opinions. I was worried about what people thought of me. Now, like I don't care. Like I'm on my own journey. I realise I'm on my own journey, and whatever good or bad happens, it's meant to happen. I just got to learn from it and just keep going.
So that sounds like quite philosophical and like almost like hippie-ish. You mean this is like, you don't mean this as a woolly thing, do you? You mean it as like as a way to process what happens in your life in a structured, systematic way, don't you?
Well,
it's not a soft thing. It's
it is. And I mean, one of the biggest things about mindset, I think, is the ability to be resilient through difficult moments. And that's when I went on a personal journey, because I realised my growth came in discomfort, and the more discomfort I felt, that's when I actually grew as a person, because it was making me more resilient. It's like, I suppose, training your muscles in the gym. The more you train, the more like stronger you get. It's the same with your mind.
Is it fair to say then that you would rather have done that in a much more gentle way over the previous 10 years than all at once, all in one?
That, I mean,
because again, if you're trying to get like ripped in a week at the gym, it's going to hurt. Whereas if you had a habit of exercise, it's much easier, isn't it?
Yeah. And I've learned to be resilient. Like, in fact, I look for in anything that happens in my life now, I look for the positive. So when I set up CG Joinery and Building, I was going through a moment in my life where I felt like my world was coming tumbling down. I thought it was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. I was in a really bad place. And now look at that, is the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. Because that happened to me, my back was against the wall. I'd always said I want my own business, but there's always excuses, fixed mindset, I can't because. So because having shared custody of my kids was more important than anything else, I had to make it work.
So you've mentioned fixed mindset a couple of times. You said your daughter had a fixed mindset. You've just said there, I had a fixed. Just for people who don't know what you mean by that.
So a fixed mindset
the opposite is an open mindset.
Yeah, so you've got the growth mindset or a fixed. So a growth mindset's where you think you can always improve and get better. Whereas a fixed mindset is where you are is where you'll always be, and that you can never get there.
So you see an issue that presents itself as an obstacle in one, but a challenge in the other. Yeah, it's like it's just almost calling something else, isn't it? And it says a lot about your attitude towards it, doesn't it? So someone with a growth mindset welcomes challenges. Yeah,
they'll see a challenge as a moment where they can grow and become better, where somebody else.
You learn either way, don't you? You learn through either failure or success. Yes. Either way, that's new information. Next time will be better.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I coach kids at football, and I always said to them before they go on the pitch, don't worry if you make a mistake. If you make a mistake, that's really good, because it gives you an opportunity to learn. Like a baby doesn't learn to walk without falling over. Do you know what I mean? And I say, just next time look at it and see what you can do a bit differently to get a different outcome. I also say, if you have a bad game, it doesn't matter. Everyone has bad days, it doesn't matter. The only thing I always say, and I think it's the same with anything, I always say to myself, as long as I'm giving 110% and everything, that's all that's in my control. Anything else that happens, I've just got to, again, mindset, if something bad happens, I'll learn how do I adapt and overcome, and problem solve. Like, I don't look at things as a problem, and just like a situation. So how do I change the situation into a possibility?
So what's the let's go through some of these things in practice. Sorry, just to rephrase then. So in the perfect world, what you'd like is more kids to come to the workplace with that kind of growth mindset. Because it'll be better for them. So if you're a parent and you've got a kid, you might go, oh, well, I'd love my Ben to be like that, but they're never going to be. They can be. You've demonstrated.
Yeah, I've done that with my daughter, and she's, like I say, she's now become the most resilient kid I know. It's like a different child, to be fair.
Well, I said off camera before, and it's obviously we know each other, and I've seen you. Like, she helps you now if you do like exhibitions at like trade fairs.
Oh, she spoke
which is nuts for a 9-year-old.
Yeah, she actually, one of the networking events that I sponsor, obviously you go around and you do a little bit of a pitch, and I said to her, would you like to do mine? And then, like, the look of horror first, and I was like, you can do it, you can do it, like, you can do it. And she was like, right, okay, and then she got up and she did it. Like, if I'd asked her that 2 years ago,
isn't it?
She would have had a meltdown. In fact, I would never have got her in a room.
But I mean, have been there anyway.
No, I mean, now she makes things, she's got her own little Facebook page, she makes fidgets, she took them into school, she pre-sold them the day before. But again, she went into school to sell them the next day, and the school shot her down for it. the school really came down hard enough for doing it.
For being entrepreneurial.
Which is mad. It's like, I almost feel like the schools aren't encouraging stuff like that when they should be.
Well, this leads back to, so we're not here to, critique the education system, but like almost every business owner will say when they start a business, that's when their education started.
Yeah.
Very little they'd learned before that made much difference to their business.
Yeah.
I don't, if you're a welder, somehow you need to learn how to weld before you have a business of welding, but like the actual running the mind, like all of it is all alien, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
Even if you've done a business degree, I know people who've like, I've done a business degree, I'll be all right, and then they go, wow, this is like, it's like learning what water is, but having never seen it. Then you put your hand in and go, well, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
There's only so much you can get from reading and learning, isn't it?
Well, I know, like, when I first set up my business, I've got in the mindset, but again, I was just delving into it, and there was a couple of moments at the start of my business where I was like, nah, I can't do this anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a very
insurmountable, just too much.
I mean, especially in the building industry, there's headaches quite a bit. You've got to problem solve a lot. You've got to adapt and overcome. You've got to be pretty resilient.
You're working with an interesting workforce sometimes.
And
contractors on site that you can't control. You can only.
Yeah, and if the market's having a bit of a hit, if there's a hit in the market and there's not as much work out there, and you've got lads to pay, and you're fighting against people who have dropped their prices, then you've got to obviously not yourself to worry about. You've got like employees to worry about, and you're like, right, okay, how am I? So
it's not for the faint-hearted business.
It's not. Like, I'm always looking to see what I can do differently in my business to stand out a little bit from everybody else.
Yeah.
Because the building industry can be, it's not so much of an outcome industry. Like, what outcome will I get from using this builder? Oh, he's finished every project. He's never disappeared. He turns up when he says he will. It's who's the cheapest usually. Not everyone, but that is one of the biggest things, the cost than an outcome.
Well, building is almost any trade or business can end up being, I mean, whether this is the right way to call it, but a commodity. So when you're looking for petrol, you don't normally go, is it Esso or Shell or Sainsbury's or Morrison's? It's like, how much is it per litre? And building can be like that. It's like, I need an extension, my budget isn't as big as I would like it to be. Can I get the work done for as little money as possible? And of course that doesn't always equate to value. Everyone knows this, we all know this. But yet somehow I think a lot of people still expect when they're asking for quotes, they kind of forget that when they're buying. But when they're selling and say, oh yeah, no, we do an exceptional work, that's why we're dearer. But you should be as cheap as possible. And that bothers me a lot. But you've got to learn all these things when you're in. So it takes a lot of balls to not just drop your prices. And
it does. I mean, at the minute, there's a change in the market at the minute. And I've spoken to a few builders, I've spoken to architects, and they're on about dropping their prices. It's a bit of a battlefield out there at the minute. And I was like, I said, well, if I drop my prices and I'm not making any profit, I may as well have a job.
Why are you doing it?
Why am I doing it? You know what I mean? Like,
because that's the weird thing. You can't go back to like Juson's and say, are you going to sell plasterboard cheaper? And all right, everyone on site, are you all right for the pay cut then?
Yeah.
Because Betty or Dave don't want to pay as much for their garage conversion. It's like, it doesn't work like that, does it?
No, it doesn't. And now there's been loads of ups and downs since I've been in the business. And for what I learned about the power of mindset was, to begin with, the ups and downs were really overwhelming. And the only thing that actually kept me from packing it in to begin with was the kids.
Like, you had to do it.
I had no choice. It was either how shared custody for my kids and deal with the headaches, or see them on weekends or every other weekend, or however that would have then worked. So my sole focus was them. So that just meant I've got no choice. But then what I learned was the more adversity that I went through and the more I overcame it, the stronger I became. There's a guy called David Goggins. He says a great thing. He builds calluses on the mind. Like, you get them on your hands with the weights. You build them on the mind. And that's when I learned. I was like, actually, the more adversity that you go through and the more you overcome it, the stronger you become. So actually, so I started, instead of waiting for the discomfort and adversity to come to me, I was like, well, how do I go and fight that? Do you know what I mean? Because I realised that's how it worked. And that's why I started doing a lot of personal challenges.
Let's get on to some tips then. Would you say that's seek discomfort or seek the challenge? Or
massively. I think putting yourself and challenging yourself,
because there's a lot of people out there who aren't struggling with anything, but they're also living possibly an unfulfilling, unsatisfactory life, and thinking, well, yeah, but what can I do? It's like, well, go out and stand on the edge and peek over and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I've went into anything I had a fear of, I was like, right, well, I'm going to go and do that. So skydiving, caving, rock climbing, there's just anything I had a fear of, I went and did. And some of those really asked me a lot of questions of me. So uncomfortable. Because
you made an interesting point there then, Chris, because none of those are business related.
No.
Do you think it matters? Or is it just putting yourself
it's training your mind.
Anything you overcome will help you in any other thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I definitely...
Because you might have thought, oh, I've got to go and sit in loads of rooms and listen to loads of people talk all day about how you just need to be strong and
See, I don't think that works.
There's
a lot of people who talk about mindset, but they do it we're gonna sit on a Zoom and talk about mindset. Okay, so for instance, the SAS, they get put in situations to build their mindset to deal with real life situations. They wouldn't sit in a classroom or on a Zoom and say, so if you get caught, you need to be resilient, you need to do this. They get put in real life situations, and that helps them build that.
They get blindfolded.
I mean, I'm not saying I've gone that far yet, but I realised that.
I'm happy to borrow a van, throw you in the back and put a few boys in.
I've never seen them. But yeah, I think.
How much would you pay for that, Chris?
I like.
Can I borrow the van? That would be great, wouldn't it?
It would actually.
Yeah, will you borrow my van and abduct us?
There was actually a thing that went about for a while where you kind of, I can't remember the name of the guy who ran it, but they did these things where they pretty much tortured you, like an army kind of style thing. So I heard about it and I looked into it, but they had to stop it for insurance purposes. And I was like, you probably got put in a box and locked in a box, you got water thrown up, and I was like, that sounds absolutely awful. Where do I say that?
well, that typifies it though, doesn't it? It's I don't know if you've seen, but I've for a long time now I've been relatively comfortable speaking in front of audiences and I do a lot of it. I wouldn't say I was particularly good at it, but it wasn't thrilling. I still get excited and you get the butterflies, and I think you always should. So I thought, well, what's the biggest challenge I can do? So I thought, well, stand-up comedy, that'll be tough.
Yeah.
And we did our third gig the other night in front of a social club audience, which was tough.
Yeah.
But actually, everyone who did it came out and they were all like, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
If I've done that, I can speak to any room. We sort that out, and so it hasn't got to be.
It doesn't have to be. Everyone's different as well.
And get tortured. You can pick it.
Everyone's got different levels of what they find comfortable and uncomfortable. There's some people out there who are thrill seekers, and the thought of jumping out of a plane or doing that won't be uncomfortable. It's not a challenge for them. Yeah. I mean, what threw me the most.
But actually, doing an 8-hour shift, 8 till 4 that would be uncomfortable for them.
Yeah, that might be uncomfortable. Yeah. I knew that jumping out of an airplane, I never wanted to do it. I knew that going in a cave terrified me, and rock climbing. These were things I knew that I was scared of. Other people might not be the same, everyone's different. So I was like, well, that's my list of stuff, so I'm going to go and do it. And the overcoming them and the power you got from it, it was really, really it was incredible. And by the time I got to skydiving, I kind of built up more resilience, because the rock climbing really asked a lot of questions. I felt sick, fight or flight. I even looked if I could get back down. I went dizzy, I went white, but I did it. And then when I got to the skydiving, I was petrified that originally, but when I got there, I was actually fine. I wasn't even bothered about it, I just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was I built up to it, and my resilience was building up, and my overcoming fears was building up.
You touched on something else there as well, which is a bit corny, but it's true. Worrying about the thing just doubles its impact.
Yeah.
You worry about a thing which might never happen.
Yeah.
Worry about it when it happens. I'm not saying don't pre-plan things that might happen. I'm not saying that. But worrying about the skydive and then going through the pain of the skydive, well, that's just doubling, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do that. They worry about something that's probably never going to happen.
And isn't as bad as the thing.
It isn't as bad. I mean, what I actually did learn when I've been doing these is and it's just by doing them that I've learned it. And you do hear people say it, but concentrate on what you can control, don't worry about what you can't. So when I was doing the rock climbing, I was terrified, but then I was like, look, I'm in this situation now, what can I control? And all I could control was putting my hands on my feet and pulling myself up.
Yeah.
So that's all I concentrated on. And then eventually I forgot about how high I was, because my fixation was on my hands and my feet and getting up there. So the fear went. And it was the same if I did a 50-meter abseil, I was leaning over, which was a sheer drop, and I was like, oh my God, I felt sick, and I was like, right, what can I control? Right, lie back, feed the rope, and I did that, and I didn't know if I was 50 meters, 10 meters, 1 meter. The fear had gone because I wasn't thinking about it. But people do worry about a lot of stuff, which gives them anxiety and things like that. When things like doesn't actually turn out to be as bad as what it actually is.
Give us some of your like your basics then. So obviously this is written for kids, but as you've already said, a lot of people are probably adults.
Yeah.
Who've never even gone through this as a kid. So you've probably got, mindset-wise, people who are in a worse position than your daughter. Yeah. So I know you've written this for kids, but like give us some basic steps into.
Well, I always say, it's levels. So like obviously, if it's something you've got to, if you something you're scared of or something that makes you uncomfortable, and it's really really big, then maybe starting something a bit smaller. So heights, if someone's scared of heights, maybe just go a little bit higher, build yourself up. You don't go from this to that and just, do you know what I mean, in one extreme, because that'll just be overload. Like my kids, with the kids, I took them out last week and we did some outdoor challenges with them. Yeah. And my son, they did the thing called the leap of faith, where you climb up a pole and you've got to stand quite high and then just jump. Yeah. You're strapped in, but they were a kid. I mean, some of them were terrified. Like,
it is.
But they still did it, and they felt incredible after it. And then we did a couple more things, a zip wire and stuff.
But the point is, if you're scared of heights, don't start with a leap of faith.
Maybe do something like
climb a ladder, stand on the table, look out of a high window, like.
Something that is a bit uncomfortable, and build yourself up to it. You know what I mean? Like start building. Like you wouldn't go into the gym and start lifting 100 kilograms if you've never been before. You'd build yourself up to it. When we did this stuff with the kids, we did an assault course, which was it was very challenging. They'd have to persevere, adapt and overcome, be resilient. And it was tiring. And when you're tired, your mind starts saying, "I'll just pack it in." Do you know what I mean? And it's about breaking through
again, isn't it? Yeah. Your mind has a built-in system telling you not to do uncomfortable things.
It's trying to safeguard you.
Things. So you need to learn how to just ignore that for just a bit longer each time. Is that?
Definitely. I think you have an internal. You have like two little voices. You've got one who's telling you to stop doing something, and then you've got your other one, and it's like, who are you going to listen to? Like I did my first fell race the other week because I've decided one of my challenges is the spine race, which is 268 miles in 7 days. I've never ran. I've never been into running, so I hired an ultra running coach about 3 months ago, and he said, "How much running you done?" I went, "I've done a 10k last week." He went, "What do you want to do?" And I went, "I want to do the spine race." Well, he just laughed. He thought I was mad. I was like, "Look, it's not next week. I'll have to build myself up to that over the next 2 or 3 years." And I did a fell race of that week, and that was 18 kilometers, 4,000 foot of ascent and descent. And by the time I went up one mountain and got to the second mountain and came back down, I was knackered because I hadn't done something that big before, not up and down mountains. And that little voice was like looking up, thinking, "You don't want this smoke. You don't want it. We've done well." And then the other one was like, "We're going up," do you know what I mean? But I always make sure that I'm pretty determined, and it's taught me to be determined, so I'll always do it even if I'm tired. But I've had to build myself up to that, do you know, over the last few years.
What were your small steps in business then? So, we've talked about heights there for kids or anyone else, but like, because you didn't start by actively seeking out that painful area, did you?
No.
What, like...
Well, obviously, so my first, in my building company, I started off on my own, and I was taking on little joinery products. And then someone came to me and were like, "Oh, would you convert a commercial property into flats?" And I'm like, "No," do you know what I mean? I was like, that's massive. Like, and then obviously there's that whole, when do you take an employee on? That whole mental barrier. When do you do that? And then as time went on, I went from just doing kitchens and skirtings, and then I got like a coffee shop, and I took on an apprentice because I was like, well, I need someone to help, so I'll take on an apprentice. Yeah. And then I had like 6 months worth of work for me and him, and this lad rang me one day, a great lad, I've become really good friends with him, and he said, "Are you looking for anybody?" And I wasn't actually, but sometimes you get this good instinct, don't you? And I got this instinct. I was like, I was like, I think I need to speak to him. And I met him, and he's still with me now, and he's a great lad. So then I took my first employee on, but that was a really scary factor at one point. But then as time went on, I got bigger projects, took on more lads, and then now our jobs are converting commercial properties.
So using the same logic then, taking your first employee on might be the big scary thing.
Yeah.
But you can trail it by taking a subby on.
Yeah.
So in the building game, you could go, well, actually, I don't need someone all the time, but actually, I'll pull someone in just the odd time on a self-employed basis, non-committal. Right, we'll start there. That could be the baby step, couldn't it?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, actually, I'll probably use you 4 days next week. How about we make it 3 days a week for the next couple of weeks, and then...
We're just building yourself up. Like I said, with the mindset, you're building yourself up like through the levels. Like I wouldn't have went from being on my own to all of a sudden like bringing in 25 subbies who would tackle like a monster project. It would overwhelm me. Do you know what I mean? It's just,
it could have been the end of your business.
It could have been the end of my business, but if you do it gradually, and once you learn to take 1 employee on, then 2, then 5, then 10, then eventually once you've built the 25, you've went through all the different things to be able to manage that many people. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't have just went from, you've seen it, you've learned what you're going to have, things you have to deal with and stuff, and it's just about building that up. And business has taught me a lot about mindset, and I think there's a few people who are in business who understand the power of mindset, because without being resilient and being really strong in your mind, you're not going to last, because it is hard. It's very hard.
I find and this isn't meant to offend anyone who's an employee, but I quite often see people say, "Oh, sorry for you in business, you get to deduct your expenses and pay less tax." Like, yeah, but there's no holiday pay, there's no sick pay, there's no pension provided. There's like, if you want 4 weeks off for holiday, you've got to make all the extra money in the other 48 and somehow find a way for your business to still be there. Like, it's an entirely different way of life.
Oh, it is, and it's like people say, "Oh, you've got your own business," and I think to myself, look, like I live really in a constant world of discomfort. Like, my life is discomfort.
Well, every week it's like, that job's fell through, what's going to be in?
I've had that. I've had a job fall through when I had a week worth of work, and it was like a 3-4 month contract, and I had 5 lads, and I had to somehow find work without going around looking desperate, because nobody wants to see a desperate builder.
Because also, I always say to people, if you can find a builder who can start next week, you can ask them.
Everyone says that, do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't take them on, so.
Listen, Chris, in the last, we've got literally a minute. What's the one thing people keep getting wrong in business then? Like, if you could give them one little 30-second nugget, what would it be?
I would say that if you have any failures or make any mistakes in your business, to not look at it as a bad thing, but to use it to help transform the business and learn from it and how you can grow from it. I've learned anything that I've done, which is effectively like cost me money or something that seemed to be bad, it's always turned to be something good, because it's made me adjust the business to deal with it.
So the lost money was an investment?
So the lost money was an investment, or the mistake was something that I needed to happen, or the work that disappeared had made me adapt and bring something into my business to avoid that happening again, or to go down a different avenue. So
perfect. Well, listen, Chris, you brought the Tales of Hidden Strength. Yeah. It's on our nightstand waiting to read with the boys. I've already told you that. I'd already bought my copy. I'm not just saying that.
No.
But you can get Tales of Hidden Strength written by Chris Garvey on Amazon. And I'm sure you'd be very happy to speak to anyone. Are these outdoor classes? It's a yes or no, the outdoor thing with the kids, is that something you're doing now as well?
Yes.
Yeah? Great. Well, I'm sure people will reach out if they think that sounds fun for their kids. Yeah, no, there's a few products and services we're bringing to the market, all focusing on creating a positive mindset within kids. Excellent. Thanks very much for coming in today, Chris. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. Thanks for having us.